capture the crucial issues that was pressed home in this session, and also the benefits that I have accrued from this session and the way forward, something the distinguished president is harping on. So firstly, I would like to congratulate the DCCI for making a great partnership. This is a great partnership involving the European Union's key entity ECHO, along with ActionAid, World Vision, and United for Future, I think, United Purpose, is a great event. This is not easily done. It required a lot of entrepreneurship. It required a lot of homeworks, preparation, and it has been made possible. So, Mr. President, you have made almost an impossible possible. So, I wanted to congratulate you at the very outset. The partnership speaks for itself. This group of entities, they have been in the business for long. Like I have been in the civil service profession for almost 38 plus years. And for almost 30 years, I was working on the issue of disaster management. You know, there was a time when you used to think about relief-oriented administration. And then back in 2004, we started a program called Comprehensive Disaster Management Program. And we were working to make a paradigm shift from taking the whole discourse away from relief discussion to disaster risk reduction. And that basically started to give results on the way. But today, the very distinguished keynote speaker has connected us to the adverse version of disaster management, which is, he rightly explained before us, is the framework called disaster risk management. So this forum has devoted itself to the advanced version of the risk management discourse. So I wanted to congratulate all of you for being part of this. This is definitely a great partnership. The enlightening panel has delivered well. They have crossed our expectation. And you, the participant, you are showing the resolve that the messages and the learnings that we are getting today will not only be confined in this room, but will go out of the room and will apply this to our respective jurisdictions. So this is a great realization for me that such forum can make a huge difference on the ground. So thank you for envisaging such a forum. Before then explaining on further benefits of this forum, let us also put this issue into context. What is happening in Bangladesh, you know, and what is not happening in many other countries. In Bangladesh, there is a very strong political will demonstrated at the level of the Honorable Prime Minister. That is something very important. If there is a strong political will, you can make things happen very systematically, in a very coordinated manner, very successfully at all levels. But you are working very hard, but there is no political will. There is no visionary guidance. Then the whole exercise will be a futile exercise. Nothing will happen at the end of the day. So today we are seeing in Bangladesh, we are very well positioned under the guidance of the Honorable Prime Minister, and her pronouncements are very unequivocal. She always considers the private sector along with the public sector is playing a very important role. And she says that yes, private sector is the engine of our growth. So there is a very strong recognition of the private sector for playing important roles in every areas. But what is so special about the area of disaster risk management? And I think here I am looking at the distinguished panel and especially to our keynote speaker. Let's try to understand the disaster risk management as a long journey, as a spectrum. The journey, and I think one of the one of the initial quip that the president made, that this is the first step. This is definitely it's a journey, but they say that the journey is not difficult. The first step is. So the DCCI and the partners have made a very important first step on what? On the issue of what they call risk financing mechanism or risk financing strategy. And I want to request all of you to reflect a little bit. While in this country and elsewhere, we have done enough to manage disaster risk reduction in the first place and disaster risk management in the current stage, a good deal of it has been done. What was not fully addressed was taken up for consideration today. যে এরিয়াতে বাংলাদেশে এতদিন কাজ হয়নি, the risk financing issue has been left either unattended, ignored, or done or what we call in a half-hearted manner. So I wanted to basically salute this session for taking up the whole session today, starting from the inaugural session and all the three parallel sessions and other sessions, that they have identified one of the most crucial issues is the risk financing. And the evidence that we are getting from the field, Mr. Kashmir Raja comes from my district. He's another very proactive activist in the area of disaster management. It's all evident before us what happened in the Howrah areas for last few weeks. The farmers, they cultivated their land, they are waiting for a good harvest. But suddenly there was water on their field. There was no rain in Bangladesh. There was a huge rainfall in the upper riparian area of India, and suddenly the rain came, the water came and submerged all the areas that were carrying paddy to be cultivated, to be harvested in few days, and suddenly everything went out. So you see the loss. It's a colossal loss. The person who invested all his capital, all his or her capital on the paddy field, suddenly became a penniless overnight. It happens. I have seen. We had a very sound sleep at night. Tomorrow we'll go to the field in our areas. Suddenly in the morning we see water everywhere and not a drop to drink, as they say. So this is the risk. It's an example. There were multiple examples given by the speakers, and the keynote speaker was very eloquent in presenting his case, in presenting all the principles of disaster risk management, pillars, and what could be done. So I feel that this forum would be definitely as a trailblazer for the rest of the session, because whatever you think, whatever you plan to do, you need money. Without money, you can't implement anything. And this session has been addressing the issue of how to mobilize fund in case of insure the risk, to hedge the risk and hedge your production. Be you an entrepreneur in the scale of micro, small, or medium enterprise, or you be a big entrepreneur like Mr. Asif Ibrahim and others. Your risk are the same, but in varying degrees at different levels. So I wanted to basically now address the need of what to do in future. Now that we have very successfully identified that in the discourse of disaster risk management, there is an area of risk financing strategy which was either greatly ignored or not addressed well. And today we have taken the resolve to address it in a very holistic manner with force and with coordination and harmonization. Because many of you talked about, there is a 3C concept I love: coordination, cooperation, and coherence, that the ministries which are issuing contradictory orders will have to now rest. They will have to now come to terms with what other people are doing. As Mr. Ali also very nicely mentioned, there has to be an effort to minimize the gap between the public and the private sector. And in Bangladesh, I remember I was in New York between 2009 and 12, and we organized the visit of the then Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon. He came here in November 2011, and he said that the beauty of Bangladesh is for every problem, there is a local solution. So for Bangladeshi problem, you don't have to, you can definitely maintain your partnership with all the great entities, but you can come up with your own solutions. So in order to minimize the gap between the public and the private sector, there is already an entity known as BUILT. And Mr. Asif Ibrahim, I hope he was the first president of BUILT, Mr. Ibrahim, and during my time in PMO as the principal secretary, we met regularly. We addressed a lot of issues that you raised. So this is one important thing is that we need to make sure that our two hands, public and private, or private and public. I'm a left-hander, so my strong hand is left hand. So I say this is the private and public. They have to work together to make things happen. What is the strategy? What will be the things that will happen? And I fully recommend the outcome document should endorse the keynote speaker's proposal to farm up a comprehensive risk management strategy. When we come up with the idea of forming a strategy, there are a lot of initiatives, a lot of fertile brains, they come up with a lot of initiatives. When we see there is always a silo approach, everyone has to be there, not only the engineers. It's not we say, সবচেয়ে বড় রোল হবে ইঞ্জিনিয়ারদের, কেন ডাক্তার সাহেবদেরও রোল আছে, এন্টারপ্রেনারদের রোল আছে. So everyone will have to play that role. It's not only me, it's us, for everyone else. So the comprehensive strategy would be one of the great resolve for this session. We can recommend to the policymakers that Bangladesh, at the very outset, needs a comprehensive risk financing strategy. There is already elements of risk financing that has been elaborated by Mr. Millat, Mr. Ali, Mr. Nasiruddin, but those are to be now amalgamated and put into a bigger basket. And here also we can recall the contribution of the Honorable Prime Minister. Please think about the Bangladesh Delta Plan 2100. 2100. The Honorable Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, has not only stopped envisaging her vision 2021-2041, but she is going up to 2100, and she is considering the BDP 2100, Bangladesh Delta Plan, as the gift of the present generation to the future generation. This is a great sustainability approach, something our father of the nation in his maiden speech, and that was the first and last speech at the UN on 25th of September 1974, he laid out a lot of elements. And while we were negotiating in New York and elsewhere as LDC negotiator, we found that a lot of the elements that is now incorporated in what you call sustainable development goals were already laid out in his speech. So please go back to your office, your home, your workplace, and have a look at the speech that the father of the nation had delivered. So here we are now to collect and collate all these elements and put it into the comprehensive risk financing strategy. So I'm seeing this forum is very useful and it is very timely because you know the Ministry of Finance under the guidance of the Honorable Prime Minister is preparing for the national budget. There will be the budget pronouncement on 9th of June. This is what they call hit the road hit the iron while it is hot. I think the resolve, the declaration of this session can be shared with the Ministry of Finance in order to internalize a lot of recommendations into the budget speech. And here basically my last 2 points would be, when we talk about risk financing strategy, this is not a strategy, this is not a standalone strategy. It has to be mainstreamed across all activities. Risk financing strategy is something very, very important. It should be incorporated in the green banking policy of Bangladesh Bank. It can be incorporated in the corporate social responsibility CSR activities in the bank and insurance companies, because we need to now rethink, not in the form of witch hunting, but in the form of soul searching, that whether we are doing enough, whether we are doing the right thing in terms of spending resources from the CSR fund. This is a great question, very, very important question for us. So I feel that the development of a risk management strategy can be definitely a private sector-led approach, but again with a very strong partnership with the government. And you have very rightly basically brought on board the Ministry of Disaster Management and Relief, the other relevant ministries, Ministry of Planning, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and definitely Ministry of Finance. They can be now brought to the platform. They should now together examine and prioritize all the recommendations that will be coming out of this session. So this is how to develop the comprehensive risk financing strategy. And I said that a quick win would be incorporating it into the budget speech of the Honorable Finance Minister. So a delegation from DCCI, FBCCI can call on him and submit before him this recommendation. He has a very strong private sector background, and he will be very, very receptive to this. The last comment from my side is, let's definitely over the years, as I said, the academia, the civil society, Ms. Farah Kabir was here when I was the first project manager for the comprehensive disaster management program. We did discuss a lot. We did produce a lot of reports. But now is the time to convert all the words into deeds. You'll have to go for quick action. I'm here again envisaging a process where DCCI is playing a lead role. You are already leading by good example. You are the first chamber in the country to have a emergency operations center, private sector emergency operations center. I was involved in my CDMP project manager capacity to create the first EOC in the ministry. So I'm seeing a lot of development from the public sector to private sector. That's why I was chatting with the honorable keynote speaker saying that the risk management issue is no longer a public good. It is now everybody's business. It is, and private sector is fully involved in this. So my approach to this would be, how about talking to the partners and secure some more assistance from them, technical assistance, and organize some sort of TOT for all the other chambers across the country. We have 64 districts. If 64 district chamber, I used to bring them as NBR chairman. I used to either go to them, like I used to visit Chorkukri Mukri and a lot of hinterlands, but they can also come to you. They can come to you. So you organize a sort of training of teaching, what you call training of trainers, TOT, and you have a very able resource person. This panel can be the resource person in this forum. And if you can sensitize all the chambers across the country, and this is a strong recommendation from me. If you give me the draft, I will check whether this recommendation is there. Implementation is your decision, but the recommendation has to be there. I would recommend that you organize a pilot TOT for all the chambers in the country and share your experience on how to open a private sector emergency operation center. Emergency operations center is a great process. It will bring about a lot of benefits to everyone, to our colleague who works on the MSME issue, and also everyone who needs to get advice, get support, can turn to EOC, and I hope you will take the benefit of Digital Bangladesh and give short numbers for EOC, which anyone, any entrepreneur can reach to you in the real time, in the real time. Secondly, the second angle would be a recommendation to Bangladesh Bank to arrange a forum to make a happy marriage between your green banking policy and existing CSR policies across different banks and financial institutions. I was in the Bangladesh Bank Board for 4 years, and I've seen there is a strong ownership of all of you to pursue the green economy approach and green banking approach. But now this is the time for delivery. These words to be now shown as actions. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are my small intervention as one of the fellow participants. The good thing is that after the Glasgow COP26, every country is now working hard to prioritize what they call climate action. You can take this opportunity as well. You can reach out to the Prime Minister's office. You can reach out to the Finance Ministry and tell them that adopting a comprehensive risk financing strategy would be one of the priority climate actions for Bangladesh. Thank you for your very passionate hearing, and thank you once again for inviting me to this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Guest, for your vote of confidence in the private sector, I must say, not only Dhaka Chamber, but the entire private sector. And of course, like I said, we only did this initiative to break the ice, to be the example that you want to be in the world, as Mahatma Gandhi said. So from that perspective, we believe that we'll be able to inspire the private sector, and I take strong note of your recommendation. I will definitely reach out to the Minister for Relief and Disaster Management, as well as the President of FBCCI, to congregate the entire trade organizations in the country together under the banner of FBCCI, where the Dhaka Chamber can make a keynote presentation on their private sector experience of engaging in such manners. So definitely I will reach out to them. And of course, as I mentioned, there is 5 specialists in this panel. Before our outcome report comes out, I will be once again disturbing you to go through a thick paper and give your views. So definitely, and just for your information, not only this session, we had at least 3 to 4 months ago, we had another dialogue, initial kickstart dialogue, before we started the private sector operations of this PEOC. And then we had a focus group discussion just maybe a month ago. And then a paper has come out at the same time. So all these compiled together, we must make a strong recommendation, where I still remember how our friend from the Bangladesh Bank strongly said that the Minister of Industries might give the right policy. Otherwise, Bangladesh Bank cannot just sit here and give out policy decisions. Industrial policy should also be similarly friendly. So again, it is a united effort of all these inclusive stakeholder consultation, which always Dhaka Chamber has strongly believed in. And of course, our members, our audience, whose patient hearing, whose kind contribution and various opinion actually makes the whole initiative much more successful. So once again, including the gentlemen in the podium as well as our audience, I thank you all for your wonderful presence and making this event successful. And as we do this, we will move on to the closing ceremony of the event subsequently. And I thank you once again. Is there refreshments outside? Yes, sorry. So let's just quickly have some tea and coffee before we move to the next session. I cannot just invite and make sure there's nothing outside. So there is.